joined up the first week it was possible to join up, and I'm very pleased that I did so. But I do echo what has been said by others already on this platform, that these trivializing threats against opponents who you don't agree with on tactical issues, threatening to take them to court, this smacks to me of actually, if the truth be told, of the bureaucrats who've surrounded Labour prime ministers over the last 30 years. And it should stop. And the message we should send out from this meeting is we are supporters or members of the new party, but we will no longer tolerate this type of behavior, regardless of who it comes from. There are ways to debate and discuss, and I'm very proud to say, as a member of the editorial committee of Verso Books, that we've published a book in which we show that it's perfectly possible to have a decent debate, a discussion in which disagreements are expressed. Your party, the return of the left, some of the people on this platform are in it. It represents those who support Jeremy. It represents, Zara is in the book herself, as is Andrew and others. Because what is a political party in which no discussion and debate can be allowed? It's not a party. It's a corpse. And we've had enough examples of corpses on the British left. So I want to make three basic points. One, to the speaker from the floor who said that we should never underestimate the solidarity movements with Gaza and the Palestinian people against the Israelis have played a major part in shifting politics, not just in Britain, which it has done, but all over Europe, including now in Italy, in France, and places like that. And the point related to that is that in each of these countries, you have sizable majorities of ordinary people, citizens of these countries, who are against the position taken up by their governments on Israel. They want to break with Israel, including Germany, by the way, where the German government and most of the parties hovering around it are totally uncritical supporters of the Israeli regime for slightly crazy reasons, in my opinion. But a majority of the German population is against what Israel is doing to the Palestinian people. Important to understand that. Important not to accept that these governments on many key issues are representative of the people who vote for them because there's no alternative. And in this country, as has already been stressed, we have had the consensus imposed by Margaret Thatcher. The current Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, is saying that one of the people she most admires as a woman is Margaret Thatcher. Well, I'm glad she's in the Labour Party then. I mean, what don't you understand about politics to make remarks like that? That this shift and break in the post-war consensus, which Thatcher introduced successfully, and which, in order to show how much they supported her, the first person invited to 10 Downing Street when Blair was elected was Margaret Thatcher, photographed with her. We're together. Gordon Brown did the same when neither of them were getting any younger. And Thatcher looked a bit sort of tawdry. But he did it to show that this is what we are, and this is what they are. Because I've been trying to understand why this particular Labour government is really hated. I mean, Blair and Brown were disliked, were unpopular, but Starmer and his gang of rogues and crooks and liars are really hated because the people have seen through them. You know, they thought they'd get away with it again. Blair won a huge majority, silenced everyone. Well, he didn't silence everyone. Some of us here set up the Stop the War coalition and fought him, both on Afghanistan when they invaded it and later on Iraq. And nearly 2 million people marched in London against the war in Iraq. But of course, the mainstream media, though the mainstream media was better on Iraq, the Daily Mirror came out against it, the Guardian allowed a lot of coverage, the BBC permitted discussion on Iraq till they were banned by a Labour government, by this swine Mandelson, who would ring up the one Director General of the BBC, Greg Dyke, said he would ring us up, saying, why are the audiences in any questions and question time so hostile to the Iraq war? And Dyke told him, because we can't find any people who support this war. And he said, no problems, no problems. We'll supply you with some people. The next time I went on question time, I was staggered. Half the audience was pro the war, and it turned out they'd bought a whole bunch of Kurds, unfortunately. And they were in the audience denouncing Saddam Hussein, which wasn't the question of the time. So that's how they began to maneuver, and Labour is now worse than the Tories were in media domination and media control. So that's the first thing we have to understand about the hatred for this government, its links to what they've done to the media, and why people are seeing through them. They thought they'd get away with it like Blair did. Well, they can't, because they lied. And Andrew was absolutely right. They are liars. And they thought they'd take the people in because they'd won a large majority, and that isn't happening. I have to tell you honestly that when I heard the results from Caerphilly in Wales, I stood up and cheered on my own. It was absolutely a tremendous victory for us. Just two brief points, and they will be brief. Tony Benn, the late Tony Benn, who did so much to build the left, inside and outside the Labour Party, always used to argue that Parliament on its own is interesting, but unless the system is democratized, we will not get too far. And unfortunately, Tony didn't talk about proportional representation, but we should. Well, what he did talk about was two key things: the abolition of the House of Lords, which he said should be a central plank of any left party, and the second thing he argued for was the abolition of the monarchy. And I say, as a member of the party, I would be very strongly in favor, at the very least, I mean, we should call for the abolition of the monarchy and the democratization. And if they can't understand it, John Rees should distribute his book free to every member of Parliament, saying that once upon a time there were independent members in Parliament who finally did the decent thing and got rid of the monarchy. So there is this tradition in our country. And of course there'll have to be a referendum, which we'll fight to get rid of them, because it will politicize people. Now, the fact that the monarchy appears to be, including this dreaded Andrew, who they've got rid of, that Andrew is more popular than Starmer? I mean, what does that say? Preferring a royal pedophile to the great elected Labour leader and Prime Minister of Britain. What does that say? So I think it is extremely important that we take up these democratic issues, and they are part of a plank. My idea for I agree very much with what Andrew Feinstein has said. It should be a very democratic party at its base. It should be linked to movements, despite all disagreements on other issues. We can be united. I mean, it took me a long time to convince lots of people in the Palestine movement, years and years, that a two-state solution wasn't on the cards at all. They weren't going to do it. And at that time, people used to object and protest. But it's now true. No one but no one, including these jokers gathered at Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt, believe in a two-state solution. It can't be done. So we need a party that accommodates differences on many, many issues, but is united on 10 basic issues, I would say. A 10-point charter to take the party forward and to target strategically, tactically, 25 key figures in this Labour government. And I hope very much, being registered to vote here, that we will start with Andrew in Camden.